I had some requests to do a quick tutorial on this little folio, this vintage folio that I made. It'll be the easiest project you've ever done. If you're just kind of breaking into junk journals, this might be a good way to start. So this is what we're going to recreate. I'll be using different paper, but let's go ahead and get started. The measurements are written down on this paper. So if you want to freeze this so you can go back and look at it, that would be great. You're just going to need a little bit more than a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. It hardly takes anything at all. So you're going to need an 8 by 12, and that's going to make the trifold. You're going to need a 3.5 by 7, and that's going to make that flap that had the angled corner. 2 that are 4.5 by 3.5, those are for 2 pockets. And 1 that's 2 3/4 by 6.5, that's for that longer pocket that was on one of the pages. Okay. So go ahead and cut out your cardstock, and then the only scoring, we don't have a whole lot to do. Let's start with the 8 by 12, our base. Put the 12 inches across the top, and you're only going to make 2 score marks, 3 3/4, and the other one is at 8. Okay. There's that. We might as well do all of our scoring while we're at it. So find your 2 that are 4.5 by 3.5. Place the 4.5 across the top, and we're going to score on 3 sides at the 1/2 inch mark. So turn it to 3.5 and do a 1/2, and then turn it one more time so it's back to 4.5 at a 1/2. Now you have 2 of those, so we're going to do the second one also, starting with the 4.5 across the top, 1/2. Rotate it once, 1/2, rotate it once more, and 1/2. Okay, that's all the scoring. Easy, easy. So the next part we're going to do is fold our paper. Now I wanted mine to have this right, so we started with scoring at 3 3/4, so that's on my left-hand side. I wanted this far piece to be the front. You don't have to if you don't want to, but my measurements are based off of this being the front page. So I want to score that forward. Well, not score it, but burnish it. And where's that? Just make sure it lines up. Okay. And then we want this the left-hand side to go in. And just make sure everything lines up. And give it a burnish. Okay. So you don't want everything to touch because you're going to need room for it to open and close. There are no gussets, and so we're not going to do a ton of decorating. We can do a little bit, but we want to make sure that we don't go side to side. Otherwise, it'll get too, it won't lay nice. Okay. So let's go ahead and do our inking of that. So this takes just a little bit of time, but it makes it look more aged. So I'm using vintage photo, and mine's getting old. And I'm just going to go around, and I don't care about being neat because a lot of it's going to be covered. I need a new sponge. A lot of it's going to be covered with paper. We just want it to look vintage. So I'm not picky about this part at all. There's no neatness involved for me. And we are going to do both the front and the back. Actually, I'll do it on my cutting board or my mat here, and then I'll go back and clean that. Now where we scored, we're also going to do inking on that. Okay, keep going here. You could put a piece of paper under this if you want to do it that way, but I'll just clean my mat when I'm done. On the last one, I used ground espresso instead of the vintage photo. Walnut stain is a good one. I have that aged paper or something like that, but it turns out kind of a green color. I haven't used that, but that might turn out kind of neat, depending on the paper. Now, on the last one I made, it was a blue fern collection, and that, oh, look at that, what a mess. That collection was called Bird Waltz. And this one, I'm using an Old Simple Stories. Now, I have a bunch of dots on the back of here, but it's not going to matter because you're not going to see it. We're going to cover it. So look at all these polka dots here. That's okay. And we're going to do the same thing. You can do it as light or as dark as you want. I really need to get a new vintage photo. All right, now let's just go around the edge. Like I said, this would be a good way to break into junk journals if you haven't done that, or if you're just now starting. This is an easy beginner project. The only thing is you can't do a whole lot of, you can't add a whole lot of ephemera and embellishments. This one's kind of limited. So you might want to start going through buttons and lace, fabric, old handkerchiefs, paper that, you know, stationery, old cards, anything like a tag of some sort or a receipt. All right, so now my paper is aged on both sides. Now I need to clean my mat, otherwise it's going to make a mess on my other papers. So I'm just going to use a wet wipe real quick. That was dirty. Okay. Now I just so happen to have a dry one here, so let me give it a quick swipe. Okay, so we're going to set that piece aside. And the next thing I want you to do is to get one of the, let me get my measurements. Get one of the pockets that was 4.5 by 3.5, and get the one that's 3.5 by 7 1/4. Okay, so this is going to be the flap right here. Okay, and it's angled. Now you can measure it. I just put it in my trimmer and went from one corner to where I wanted it down on the other side. I didn't even measure. Okay, so just do that the way you like. And I'll show you mine here in a second. Okay, so this is how much I took off of mine. So if you want a measurement, I went down by about 2.5 inches. Okay, so from the corner down to 2.5, cut it off. Let's go ahead and ink this one. On the front and the back. Now you don't really have to go all the way down because we are going to have a pocket on one side. This side's going to have a pocket, so you don't have to go down all the way. But on the back, you will need to do all 4 sides. Now I did this on the collection I'm using too because I thought it looked a little bit too white and I wanted it to look more aged. So when I was inking the edges, and I'll show you that, I also put some of this ink on the interior so that it kind of aged the paper and the white is gone and it's more of this vintagey color. Okay. Let's go ahead and take the pocket that we scored on 3 sides, and we're going to cut off where the 2 lines intersect, where we did our scoring. I'm going to cut off at an angle on each of those to cut off the square, and I am going to taper at the top, miter, whatever you want to call it. And let's go ahead and burnish our score marks. And let's ink that. I don't want to do it over my mat because my sponge is dropping little pieces. A lot of people use these brushes, you know. I have some, I just didn't use it. Where, like this brush. Some people use that. Then you don't have the mess like I'm having. All right, I got the sides. All right, so let's do, before we attach this, I went and I just have an old, I don't even know where I got this, an old handkerchief. And I'm just going to cut 2 pieces. This is going to become our hinge. So I'm just going to cut I'll give you the measurements after I'm done cutting it. You can use paper if you want. All right, so these are going to be my hinges. These measure, and you can have them bigger or smaller, about 1 1/4 by 2. And all you're going to do is glue where you want your hinges to be on this piece. Okay, so I'm going to kind of space them out. I'm just going to use art glitter glue. Put some here on the front. So about half of it, well, a little less than half on the front piece here. Give that a chance to dry. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more glue. And then same here. Okay. You can trim off the excess if you want to, if you think it's too long. I'm just gonna, oh, that one's good. Add a little dab of glue here still. All right, so now that we have those 2 hinges on, now I'm going to attach this pocket. So place glue, I use the art glitter glue on all 3 sides, those 1/2 inch sections. Line it up, bottom and sides, like so, and burnish it on. If you have any excess glue, just wipe that up. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add my pattern paper to this before I attach it to the rest of the little booklet. So here are some more measurements for you as far as pattern paper goes. So this one, I'm going to need one that's 3 3/8 by 7 1/8. That's going to be the back. I need one that's 3 3/8 by 4. That's going to go on the top part. And I need one that's 3 3/8 by 2 7/8 for the pocket. Okay, so 3 3/8 by 7 1/8 is the back. 3 3/8 by 4 is the top. 3 3/8 by 2 7/8 is the pocket. That pocket looks bigger than 3 inches. Let me double check. Nope, it's accurate. So what I did, I've already got my paper cut to those measurements. I used this tool to rough up the edges by just scraping it. Now, if you don't have one of these Tim Holtz or some sort of distress tool, just use your scissors, open them up, and just go around and scrape the edges. Now, after I did that, I went ahead and inked all the edges, and I did put some ink on the inside, like I said earlier, just to age it. Now, I'm going to have to do some change here. Let's see. What do I need to do? I'm going to end up cutting this, so I'm going to have to do some more of the distressing. So, okay, so let me do this pocket. This collection is from Simple Stories. I've had it for quite a long time. I've been hoarding it. It's the Simple Vintage Botanicals. This was available at Country Craft Creations a while ago, but this is an older collection, so you'll just have to kind of order one of her new collections or go through your stash and see what you like that looks maybe vintagey. You can grab a piece from different collections. It doesn't have to be all from the same collection. And it's okay if the corners come up a little bit because of the aged look. We want that to kind of stand up. So I'm just going to make sure I really burnish it in the middle. But I'm not going to burnish over those sides that we did the distressing. I'm going to just go on the inside of that. Okay, so there's my bottom. Here's the back. So I'm going to have to trim this, and I like this. I wish I didn't have to cut the butterfly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it behind. And I'm going to just put a mark. You know what? I'm going to do it the other way. Let me just put it on top like it's going to be. So line it up the way you want it. And you should be able to see the top and the side. So you don't want to put a tick mark at the very corner. You want to go down a little bit. So I'm going to say about right here to about right here. So I'll swipe that. Now I gotta find my marks. Let's test it. That works. So I'm going to go back and distress this side now real quick. I didn't think about that when I was prepping. And let me get the ink. All right, let's glue that on. All right. Looks good. Now, a lot of this gets covered with embellishments. So even if you think, well, that's not very vintagey looking, you're not going to see a whole lot of the paper by the time we're done I mean, you're going to see, obviously, some of it and the edges, but it's okay if your paper's not 100% vintage looking. I want to give that a good swipe. Okay. So now we're going to do the same thing to the front. We're going to place this piece. Now we made it a little bit longer so we can tuck it under the pocket. Actually, mine goes right about to the pocket. So that's totally fine. And I want to cut it about right here. Where did that go? Looks good. I'm going to go ahead and distress. and ink. Where's my dauber? Okay. And now I'm just going to glue that. Mine doesn't really go into the pocket, and that's totally fine. I thought I made it long enough that it would, but it does not. And because of that, I did not distress the very bottom. That way things will go into the pocket easier. You don't want a bunch of... I left that flat and didn't burnish, or I didn't age and distress that one. Okay. Now I'm going to do all of the base paper first, then we go back and embellish. Okay, now I want to go ahead and attach this to my base. So it's going to fold left side in, then the right side. So I want this to be attached on the front. I don't want it to go all the way to the bottom. I'm kind of centering it. So I'm going to lay it where I want, make sure it's at the edge. I'm going to then put glue on my fabric. Bring that over. And same way on the second one. Glue. And then bring it over. I do have just a little bit of excess. I have a thicker piece right here at the end, so I'm going to try trimming that up. Okay. So that's what we have. So now I'm going to place my pattern paper on this side, and these measurements, so this behind that angled pocket, this section is 4 inches. So you're going to need, what did I say it was? You're going to need 3 7/8 by 7 7/8. That's for this and the other side. So decide which paper you want to use. I'm going to, let's see, make sure I get the right one. 3 7/8. I've already distressed this is it. So I have 2, one for the front and one for the back. So do I want this one or do I want this one? I think it needs some color, so I'll put this one here. And then when I close it, yep, that looks good. Okay, so go ahead and decide which one you want on the front and which one you want on the back. Put your adhesive on. All right. Line it up where you want it. And again, burnish mainly in the center section. Don't burnish over your distress. It's okay if we want it to stick up a little bit on the edges. Okay, let me get a drink of coffee. That is so good. I've been putting, it's actually, I use the Keurig, and there's a Snickers coffee, and then I put that skinny, that syrup that's got like no calories, and it's salted caramel. Let me just tell you, that is a sweet treat. That is so good. All right, so that's what we have. Now we are going to open it up. And now we're going to put the other 3 7/8 piece on the back. And that is this one for me. Already distressed and already inked. Once you have all these papers prepped, this goes super fast. I will have to go through some of my trash, which is going to be trash to treasure, and see what I can put on here. I have a bunch of buttons and lace and different things. And some of the things I have don't look aged, so I'm going to have to age them. Just like we did the paper, you can add the vintage photo, you can rough up the edges, distress it, layer it. I'm going to be getting, I have an old hymnal with music that I'm going to use. I'm just going to rip out some pages, and I don't even measure, I just rip and add it to where I want it. I'll link the, I'll put the link to the walkthrough of the original one in the description box for you. All right, so now on the inside, this middle section is our biggest piece. So that is 4 1/8 by 7 7/8, and you're going to need 2 of those, one for the front and one for the back. So this is what I'm, and then the other side, well, I'll do this first. This is our biggest one, 4 1/8, 7 7/8. They're all the same height. That noise of glue probably isn't irritating to hear on camera. Place that down. I mean, seriously, all we did was take a paper and fold it into thirds, basically. I mean, doesn't get much easier than that. And see, all those things that I got on there aren't even going to show. They will be covered. As we start to embellish, we want to keep closing our booklet a lot to make sure that we don't have too thick of materials in there, that it doesn't fold up nicely. I mean, you're going to have a little bit of thickness, but not a lot. All right, that's down. And then that last section, you're going to need 2 pieces. And this is our smallest one, 3 5/8 by 7 7/8, and you're going to need 2 of those also, 3 5/8 by 7 7/8. So I can either do this one, which is the same, or I can do this one. I kind of like the blue. Yeah, I think I'll go with the blue on the inside. And this is one that I had to put a lot of ink. It was white and blue, and I wanted it to be cream or, you know, an ecru color, off-white. So my ink did that for me. All right. I'll lay that on there. Make sure that it doesn't go over the score. Give it a burnish. And a lot of this is going to be covered because we are going to have a pocket on this page. No, that's not true. Not on the inside, just on the outside. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish the back. So I will have this one and this one. I like it. That's one of the reasons why I like to use this paper and not regular scrapbook paper, because usually that's thinner and only has one side. It's not decorative on both sides. I like this thicker paper. Country Craft Creations has great paper. It's got a linen base. It's, oh, what do they call it? Give me a second. There's a name for it. Oh, crud. Now I can't think of it. If it comes to me, I'll say it. But there's, I think it starts with a B. Maybe. I don't know. Okay. All right. Almost done with the basic covering. And then the fun part. I love the decorating part. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause my video, go do the scavenger hunt of my materials, and then come back. I'll go ahead and decorate on camera. I think sometimes that's what's hard for people, is they don't know how to decorate. And with this, it's easy because there's really no rules. It's just kind of layering and using a variety of mediums. Maybe some metals, some fabric, some wood, pictures, ephemera. All right. So I am going to, just like before, I'm going to use some of the ephemera from the collection, but I'm also going to use the Tim Holtz pictures. I love the way that looks. I'm also going to get that hymnal, some old laces. Okay, so I will put this on pause, get my materials, and I'll be back to decorate with you. All right, I've been gathering supplies and I have a mess on my desk. So I'm going to kind of look at this one and just kind of use this as a guide and try and make it as similar as possible. So I have a little applique that I plan on putting off here to the side. And if I dig through my pile of stuff, I'm using some of the Tim Holtz little like paper dolls and photographs and stuff like that. So I'll put that there, but I still felt like it needs a little bit of color. So I might just put this from the ephemera pack down here, like so, and then I'll put something up here. So let's start the gluing process. And if decorating it is not your interest, that's totally fine, but some people had asked about watching the process of layering, and I don't know. We'll see what happens here. I kind of covered up that butterfly, which is too bad because I really liked that. So now I'll put this applique, I'll put the green on. It needs something in this corner. It's too dull down there. I did ink the ephemera already just to have it ready. And I just have a little piece hanging over that picture. And now I will put this on there like so. And I am just going to use the art glitter glue, and I'll just go around and put some, especially on the ends, just a little bit here and there. And then once I lay it down, I'll kind of leave it alone so it dries. All right. Okay. That should do it. And get my dry wet wipe. Okay, so I'm going to kind of put a side by side here to compare. So something up here that has some color. I have some blue, which would be okay. Or maybe I just need a button, or I have a little cameo. Let's see. What do I have? So because this might be way too big. Yep, that doesn't, too big. I need something softer too. Okay, I'm gonna keep digging. So I have some of these. I think that's what I'll do. Okay. So a little flat back here. Just gonna stick it right there. Kind of leave it alone so it can dry. Do I need one here? No. All right, does that look good enough? I didn't want anything too vibrant. That might be too much. Yep, just one. Okay, So there's the pocket. Now I do have a tag, so I cut, just get your scraps, and I had a scrap and I inked it and I used my punch to make it look like the ticket. And this was round and nice and big. I didn't have that with this ephemera pack, so I'm going to use this. Did I get, like so. And I'll just put glue at the bottom. Like so. And just center it. Okay. Now, this has some lace coming out the top. I have some blue. This is from the ephemera kit, so I'll just put that there to give it some color. It needs something up here. Let's see. On the other one, I have this fabric, and I just cut out some of this, some of the flowers and put them up in the corner. I think I'll do that, but I'm just going to do the white. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I thought I had a little piece already cut, but I guess now I don't see it. You know what? Maybe I need a little piece of this right here. And see, I put a little bit of ink on that. What do I want to do? Do I have? I feel like it needs some dimension. Okay, let's go back to the tag. I'm going to go ahead and use the same. I have some of this, so I'm just going to cut about so much here. And I just use a stapler, the Tim Holtz tiny stapler thingy. So I'm going to make sure when I fold it that the right side is up. And I just kind of overlap it. I'm going to stick it behind like so. And let me get my stapler. All right. I don't like how that is not staying up. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back here of the butterfly so that sticks and that sticks so it doesn't flop around as much. So I'll give that a chance to dry. I still want something up here, don't I? Why don't we cut this? It's a cluster of 3. Maybe I'll just use that cluster of 3. That's all right. Okay. So I'll just kind of trim around that. And one more spot to trim. Like so. I think I want the white at the top. Put a little bit of glue on there. Okay, and I'll go ahead and place this tag behind there. So now I'm going to open this. And on this one, I just have a picture with some of the ephemera as a tuck spot. So what I'm going to do, that's too big. That's too big. I think I need a flower. This will be my tuck spot. So I do need to ink this. This is from the collection. Grunge it up a little bit. Too much white kind of ruins the look. Okay, we're only going to put glue at the bottom so that we can tuck something under it. And we'll put it about right there. Okay, and what do I want to place behind there? I could place things that were too big. I could just tuck this as a journaling spot. I could do that. I have, what else do I have? I had something, where'd it go? Crud. What else? I feel like it needs something. Maybe right here I need a bow or something. Let me tie a bow real quick and see what it looks like. That blue might not match well enough. So I just have some seam binding that got wet and scrunched it up. Now I want to close that. I don't think that's gonna, it'll be too thick. This is boring to me. Let's go with, I don't know. I thought I pulled a picture, but now I don't see it. Let's just see what it looks like with the one here. Yeah, see, it totally needs to be a picture. All right, I'll go back. I'll leave that there for right now and I'll get one later. Okay, so then on this page, we just had a place for a photograph, a stop, and a little piece of ephemera, just some decoration here at the bottom. So let's, I had that metal corner piece that I could use there, like so. And I might put one at the top, like so. So just on those two sides. I'm going to get my clamps ready here. Now, even as I'm doing this, I'm changing my mind as I go. So even though you think you've got everything laid out in your head, once you start going, it doesn't always stay that way. And that's okay. And a clamp so that it dries. And now the top one. And I have a bunch of things on hand. I have like a little Hobby Lobby in my basement. But it's nice to have things on hand so I don't have to stop and go to the store. I can just dig through my stuff and find what I'm looking for. Okay, so I need a stopper down here, and I think I'm going to make a stopper out of some ephemera maybe, or I don't want to overdo the flowers. I think I do want to do this. Yeah, I'm going to glue some of the ephemera onto this ticket. I'll just put that like so. move it over just a hair. It's okay if it hangs off a little bit, but I don't want it to get ripped off. There we go. And I have I just used a scrap. Now see, that's going to need something on the top here. So let me get some trim. And I'm going to put that on the top there. That'll make it look better. To separate the tag from this. So I'll put some of this on here, a little bit of glue. I'm just kind of talking out loud so you can kind of know my thought process. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and glue that on 3 sides. Nope, I lied. Just the bottom, because it's a stopper. Okay. On this, we need to put something on the top. So I close this and I think, okay, what do I want to see up here? I have a butterfly, but I need some pink or something up there. So I might want to do this. I might need something a little bit more exciting. I might need to layer some things. I do have some thicker pieces from the collection, the chipboard pieces. I have this. I kind of like it sticking off there. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this up. Where did I put my dauber? But I have to make sure it doesn't get in the way of the closure. Okay. So if that's there, I want it to go right about there. So this flower will get glued down that stem. And it was just kind of like so. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stick, this was just laying around. I'm going to stick this here for color. But I'm going to put it the other direction. Okay. Now this is not very exciting to me. I feel like I need color there too. So I need pops of color, pops of color. What do I have in my stash? What do I have? So I have some pink. I feel like it needs a flower, a real flower. So I'm going to take a look. And I think this Dusty Rose one maybe will work. Nope. Unless maybe I should put it there. I just think I need a flatter one. A flatter one. Well, there's a green. It's kind of a purple. Nope, still too big. I need like literally, oh, here's a flat one. But I don't want too much green and blue. All right, I'm gonna come back to that because I can't find what I'm looking for. So it's not done. I will come back because that needs something. Okay, what if I just put a little tag? Here's some of the ephemera. It's a sticker. I could put a sticker on there that's got a pink butterfly. Ta-da, that's what I'm gonna do. Ink, ink, ink. And I'm gonna also put glue, even though it's a sticker. And I'm just gonna put that right there, just so you get a little bit more color. All right, so let's move to the inside. All right, so I do have a photograph that I'm going to use on the right-hand side that looks like this. I might want to mat it on something that's a little bit darker. So I have this. Nope, I don't like that. Do I have blue, the same color blue? Green. Is this the same color? No. Ugh. If I dirty this up a little bit, I don't like how that looks together, but it needs something. It needs something. All right, let's start with the bottom here. So this will be here. Now I do have some paper that I'm going to rip. And I'll just kind of put that there. So I got to ink it up to age it so it blends in. And I'll just kind of glue that like so. And at first you're like, oh, that doesn't really go. But when you start adding to it, it'll all work out in the end. I hope. And then I could put this. Let's go with, let's get to the actual ephemera pieces here. And I have a bird. Now the picture is of men, so maybe I should go something like that. Tuck this behind, perhaps. Just lay it in different places until you're happy with it. I think I kind of like it there. Okay, put a little glue on the bottom, attach it. Like so, and I want some more layering. I think I want to go the flower route. Or a ticket. I have these tickets. Let's see. That adds a little punch of color. I have blue. Let's go with the green. And I'm just going to stick that underneath there. Okay. And it still needs something here. I don't like that. Maybe I need, I think I'm going to do this. Or what about, nope. I could cut out a flower from this. I think I'm going to use this flower. So I'm taking the applique and I'm just going to cut, or do I want this one? I want this one. This little one at an angle. So there's a certain way you snip so you don't make it run or, you know, like fray. And I'm not going to dirty this one up. I'll just leave it the way it is and see how that looks. Let's go with it. I still feel like the color is a little bit off, but I always put down what I think and then I go back and look at it after I've walked away from it for a little bit. And oftentimes I go back and add things. And even though I set a bunch of stuff out, I still feel like I need to have more to choose from. Okay. I think I'm going to go with that for right now. I'm just going to glue the bottom. And I'll put that right here, making sure it can still close. Okay. If I put this here, to me, this really, ooh, look at how much space. I'm going to cut that. I think that looks better to get rid of some of that. Okay. And let's see, something up here. Don't you look at that and think, it's not quite done? I do. I think I want that up there. Sometimes it's hard to tell which is the right side and which is the wrong side. Okay, I'm gonna straighten this out. And the other side. Okay, I'm gonna glue that down. Sometimes I use a hot glue gun, but this has been doing a good job of keeping things stuck down, this art glitter glue. And it's lightweight, so it should be okay, this lace is. Okay, give that a chance to dry. Okay, let's go with I'm gonna put a bow up there, and I think it should still close. I'll check. Just off the corner. Need it smaller. And I'll have to trim it up. Maybe not. Okay. I'm going to put some on the back. Lay that down, and I'm going to put a little bit here so that I can make that stay, and a little bit here and make it stay there. Okay, that's going to be good for that page for right now. In the middle page, I had 2 pockets, one made out of trim. So this is the trim I'm going to use. It's a crochet trim. This is one I can't tell which is the front and which is the back. That's the back. Okay, so I'll trim that up a little bit. All right, like so. Let's put glue on 3 sides. Okay. This becomes a pocket, so obviously we want to find some ephemera pieces to put behind there. So on the other one, I put a pocket from the ephemera right here. I don't really have the same type of ephemera to do that, but I can make a pocket. Let's see. What do I want to make a pocket out of? I could make a pocket out of this to blend in this. Okay, so let's get a piece of our cardstock and decide how big we want it. That's too big. I'm gonna cut it down. Well, let me measure the width here. I had no idea it took me this long to do this, the thought process. Let's make it 4 inches across. And I'm gonna go 1.5. Yep, let's ink it. Okay, let's get our paper collection, and it needs a little bit of color. So I have some scraps, and I think, sorry if that's making an obnoxious noise. So if that was 4 long, we're going to make it 3 7/8. And if it was 1.5, we're going to go 1 3/8. Okay, let's ink that. You know what? I'm going to rough it up first. I'll get my scissors and just kind of okay, put some ink on there. glue it on. Like so. I am going to rip some of the hymnal, ink it up. Slap it down. And I have some words that I'm going to use. I say a lot, don't I? Where to go? This came with the collection. I want live for the moment you can't put into words. Make good use of today. Let's just do that one. And I still put glue on it even though it's got adhesive on the back. I'm going to ink that up. I'm going to get a sticker. I want one that's a different shape. Let's go with this butterfly. And I'm just going to stick that on there. Kind of bring like so. And I'm actually going to take some of the paper and put it behind here so that it gives it some dimension. So like I might glue something like this right behind here, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this off camera so that I don't bore you out of your mind. And I'm going to, before I do that though, we need to add 2 pockets, and I'll do that right now. So this piece was 2 7/8. Let me get my book. 2 7/8. 2 5/8 by 6 3/8. And I did ink it. I notched it in the center. Here's my paper that goes with it. Now, it's going to become a pocket right here. And I want to lay it on there so that I don't see the pocket when the book is closed. So I'll decide where to put it here. So when I say I don't want to see it when it's closed, when I close it like this, I don't want it sticking out. So that looks about right. Glue on 3 sides to make it a pocket. I didn't want the 1/2 inch because it would make it too bulky. Okay. Using one of the Tim Holtz, I'm going to put that here. I'm going to put it kind of crooked. I did ink it. Ouch, sorry. Okay, put that kind of a cockeyed. Get some of the music. Kind of put that about like so. And then I'm going to put some of the ephemera from the collection. gonna lay that here. And I think I'm gonna put this here, up there. Okay, so there's that, and we'll stick some ephemera in here. I'm gonna come back and put this here. Now on the back, there was one more pocket that we made, and I went ahead and picked out the girl that I want to put on there. Here's my pocket. Now I'm gonna glue her to the back right here so that it stays like that, okay? So that you can still put things behind her. So just put glue on the bottom. Now I'm going to glue my pocket down, and I'll be adding some lace on this page, some trim. So even though this might have gotten kind of long, at least you can kind of see the process that I go through when I'm trying to decorate and see how things look. And then this is going to go behind there. And I have another one right here. And I'm going to put this right here. Okay, so I'll come back and show you when it's done. Okay, mission accomplished. Let's go ahead and look through the final one. Sometimes I think I just overthink on how to lay things out, but I'm happy with how it turned out. So this was the original. Let's go ahead and look at the one we just put together. So I put a blue seam binding closure that I did not attach, so it's easier to work with. Here's the front then. I did end up going back and adding 2 flowers there just to add a little bit of color from the center of the flowers. Okay, then you open it. I did find a new picture that I printed to put behind here, and I ended up putting some lace down here, or trim, crochet trim, because I thought it needed something. This page is just okay to me. Something doesn't feel right up here, but I found a bike sticker, so I just stuck that on there. When you open it, this one I left pretty much the same from what we did together. Here in the middle is the pocket. I just had some leftover ephemera, this piece, and then I just threw this together. And you can see I added some flowers behind the pocket. Down here I have a garment pin with 2 of the pieces of ephemera hanging from it. I had this in my stash and just inked it up. In the original one I had it in a different pocket. Here's a Tim Holtz picture, just added some of the stickers, just did some layering. I had a piece of ephemera, the flowers, a little bit of lace or applique. Here is the pocket. I just added some music notes, or the music, and put a pull tab. Flower. There's the back. Okay, so I think I like the original one better, but now I have 2, so double my pleasure. And let me tie this. So there's that, and there's that one. So in the comments, tell me which one you like better, 1 or 2. So that was my process. You can kind of get an idea of how long it takes me to think things through, and I go back and look at it and add to it as I go back and look at a later time. So I hope you make one. If you do, put one on Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations so I can see what you came up with. All right, thanks.